What I tell most agents is...
So the big question is, what are top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? To get the answers, we interview top real estate agents to learn their secrets to success. Listen, we believe every agent should make a minimum of $100,000 per year, and we're on a mission to make this happen. We've already helped over 100 agents achieve this with our coaching. So if you want to fast track your business growth, get to your first $100,000 in GCI or add another $100,000 in GCI using social strategies, then head over to go.eliteagentsecrets.com, or you can just click the link in the description below. Also, just make sure to follow us, hit that subscribe button, and if you get any value from this at all, please tell a friend and leave us a review. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Elite Agent Secrets show. Today we've got Libby Suzinski-Sulliard. She's been in real estate for 18 years, one of Keller Williams' top agents for the past 12 years. She's sold over 2,500 homes since 2004, specializing in foreclosure and investment properties. Today, we're going to be discussing foreclosure, investment properties, and developing a specialty. Libby, thank you for jumping on the show today. I really tried to not butcher your name. People, I was practicing just before we got on air here. This was a mouthful. It's like the ongoing entertainment of the show is, can Andrew pronounce the fucking guest's name?
You can call me Libby. That's all. I'm like Madonna. The Madonna of real estate. Just call me Libby. They know who I am.
So that's so funny, Andrew. I gotta say, I am proud of you for not fucking that up, because
he did good.
It was stressful, that guys.
But Libby, we're super excited to have you on the show. Your topics are going to be the first that we cover, I think, pretty much out of all the episodes so far. And before we dive into the topics, we have to go back to day one. Tell us about your real estate journey. What got you into this crazy industry? And how the hell did you sell over 2,500 houses since 2004?
Well, I was selling, or I was actually working for L'Oreal. I'm sure you've heard of that company, L'Oreal. I was a field rep, and they promoted me and then took it away. They said, well, we're not going to open up that position anymore. I was going to handle the Pittsburgh area. And so I got mad. And so I went and got my real estate license because I was angry because my job wasn't going the way I wanted it to. So then I went with a different company than Keller Williams. And that didn't go well. And I almost quit. I said, you know what, this is not the business for me. But in the interim, I met another agent who was selling foreclosures, and he offered me an assistant position. So I went and worked with him. I thought, well, I can get my money back from the classes and at least, do that. Well, then he stopped selling properties about 6 months after I started with him. And so there were many of the listings that needed to be assigned out to agents. So I ended up getting 3 of those listings on my own. They were foreclosures. And that is the beginning of the end. That's where it all took off. So from there,
Wow.
I just started getting more banks and more banks and more banks, and people knew who I was. They were passing my name around. And so I ended up with about 20 different clients.
Wait, is this all in your first year?
Actually, that was by the end of my 3rd year. So my first year was, I'm going to quit real estate. And then I was an assistant. So I did about 6 months of being an assistant for this other agent who's no longer selling real estate.
Wow.
One of my questions then is, what was your first year like actually selling? How many homes do you reckon you did? Even roughly,
56.
You did 76? Yeah.
I did. So I made it a personal goal because this agent that I was working with who was selling foreclosures, I would handle the leads as they came in. And I made it my personal goal to sell each and every one of those people a property. So I figured they were looking at real estate. They were looking at our listings. And if they didn't like that, what could I do to help you? And the ones that didn't want to work with me broke my heart. I was so upset. You don't want to work with me.
76 homes. Holy hell. Well, do you know what volume that was roughly? Like, what was your price point? You're not going to tell us.
You know what? The price point was a whole different ball game then. I don't know. I know that my average sales price used to be about 40K. Now it's up to about 95K.
Nice.
But that was
way double. Well, no, that's more than double. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the market's done too, especially in Pittsburgh. Yeah. We're our own little area. We're probably one of the most unique real estate markets in the entire world. And we'd never seen any increase or decrease at all. We've been a level real estate market for as long as I know, and even before I got involved. It wasn't until this last where everything really started getting crazy that we started seeing a lot of increase in values. It's the first time Pittsburgh's really done that.
A lot of issues. So 76, it's kind of wrapping my head at what a phenomenal first year that is. Obviously 2,500 plus homes now. Can you hold the flag and say you have actually grown every year for the 18 years, or have you had down years, or consistently always sold more than 76? I
was increasing every year. And then up until I think it was 306 properties sales in 2016. And then it started getting a little bit slower. And obviously right now with the moratorium, I'm not getting that kind of volume at all. Right.
So you're in, so COVID, you've dropped down.
Yes.
Volume-wise.
We have a moratorium on the foreclosures here, so they're not foreclosing. So obviously that's going to affect my business. I typically do between 2 and 250 properties a year. This year, I think I did 130. So even with the moratorium, I just focused my business into a different direction, waiting anxiously for the foreclosures to come back. It's my favorite business. I love it. Absolutely love it.
One of the things that you just said is you had a 306 or 305 in 1 year. That's like 25 a month, which means you're literally closing
almost
1 to 2 properties almost per day, because we got to take the weekends out.
It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I like being busy like that.
No, there's a difference between being busy and what you were doing.
I could do that again in a heartbeat. I mean, that's what I really like to do. Sometimes when like right now, like I said, with the 130 that I did this past year, I felt slow. I felt really slow. So I like to be moving all the time and keeping myself occupied. And it's hard when I don't know how to describe it. So when I'm selling that many, this is all I do, all I think. When I don't have as many, I think I get rusty. Like I don't, I forgot to do a dye test on this property, or, So when the busier you are, for me, it's easier because that's all I do and all I think about. When I'm not as busy, then I kind of forget things.
It means you're really dialed in. One of the things that I wanted to dive in is, what does your day look like, or how are you managing so many closings, and are you even going to them at the same time? And where do you actually even have the time to do everything else, because you have so many that are closing at the same time?
Well, first off, most of the time I don't go to my closings. My seller's not there. My seller has signed everything within 2 days of our closing date. So typically there's no point in me being there.
But you're predominantly listing side based on what you just said, right?
Yeah.
To clarify for the audience, okay?
Yeah. Yes. When I have a buyer, I do go to the closing when I'm representing a buyer. When it gets that busy, I don't represent buyers very often because, unless it's somebody that's a referral from many years past, I will work with them, but it's too hard. I mean, when you're running around looking at properties, when you've got 15 things back at the office that you need to get done, it's hard. But so no, I just I have a field guy He does a lot of my running around for me. So, when we get assignments, he'll go check the occupancy for me real quick. And if it's vacant, then I know I need to get over there. If it's occupied, then I'll let the bank know it's occupied, and then I can deal with that in another day because it's not going to be as immediate of a need for me to get there. So I do have him helping me. He's amazing. My field guy is just one of the most amazing people. He has a work ethic like I do. So we work really, really well together. And then I have a personal assistant that helps me by my side. And then I have another assistant that does all my, Facebook ads, marketing and that. And she also helps out on the other side as well. So when we're too busy here, she'll pick up and help out there.
That was actually going to be my question was, How big is your team? Or are you just some mental woman going around closing a deal a day, or a deal every
there's definitely help. I don't have any other agents on my team, so to say, but I do refer out my leads because I couldn't work with all of them. So there's a few agents from my office that will take my leads and work with them. And they've managed to stay in business just from that.
And you touched on earlier, you've got someone doing marketing. So you running marketing, advertising, is that where the majority of your leads come from, or are they referrals? What does your kind of lead sources look like?
Most of my stuff comes from my listings. So, when I'm putting a property on the market, I'm typically in deferred maintenance, needs a lot of work. And so my price is going to reflect that if everybody's looked at it. So what would happen is, we have a $150,000 neighborhood and I'm marketing a property for $75,000. So I will get phone calls like crazy from people who want to see, who don't understand, they don't realize that maybe it's not financeable, but that's where a lot of my leads come from.
Got it.
I don't pay for them. I do not pay for them.
No leads at all, ever.
No.
Nice.
No.
That's all right. 100% free leads selling selling over 100 years. So 100 homes a year is like minimum for you. You're just like,
my first year was 56. My second year was 99. And then after that, I've never done under 100.
Wow. That is incredible. I think that's some record. 16 years of always over 100 homes. So what I want to do is I want to dive into the first topic, which is, again, we've touched on it a bit, but this is obviously big money for you, which is foreclosures. So dive into foreclosures for us. Tell us, what you mean by that and the whole market.
So the foreclosures are basically people who have not paid their mortgage. So basically my listings, the majority, not all of them, but the majority of my listings tend to be deferred maintenance properties that have gone through sheriff's sale that are being sold as is, and there are no disclosures.
From one side of the transaction, it almost seems like it's a little bit easier because you don't have to deal with everything else. But I know there's both sides of the coin, and there's definitely some types of challenges on that other side. So what does that look like? Because I have not personally sold a foreclosure myself, but we have done some stuff where, okay, we may have to get some hard money on it, or, maybe we're looking for a fix and flip, or for an investor who's sitting on cash, who doesn't necessarily need to, quote unquote, do an inspection, but we're doing an inspection to have an idea of what the rehab is going to cost, but we understand that it's a as is property, right?
Right. So here's what I encounter more often than not is the buyer's agents. They actually are afraid of them. And, I'll get them calling me. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to sell a foreclosure. I don't know how to do this. Basically what I tell them is it's just a little bit more paperwork. There's seller addendums that always take precedence over our contracts. We use our contracts, but then the seller addendums come into play. So, at that point, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Hold on. So they, like I said, they get nervous and they feel like they don't know how to do it, but I'll help them through it. I do write out, all instructions on my email. So when a buyer's agent gets an offer accepted, if they read the email that I've sent to them, it will tell them everything that they need to know. They don't all read. So, and those are the ones that struggle the most with trying to get a correct package together. Because if they don't send over the right package, it won't get sent through to the seller. So, they have to have it done in a certain way as per the seller's instructions. And if they can't do that, then they won't sign their agreement. So I have seen buyer's agents lose properties for their buyers because they wouldn't sit down and figure out exactly how to do it.
Interesting. So what are when you say more paperwork, you mean just like the regular as is contract? I mean, everybody listening has their own as is, state contract. I'm assuming there's always some kind of addendum that goes along with it. Is the timeline a little bit different? What are some of your tips that you can, I guess, give us other than read your email? Because you have this dialed in. Not every agent that they'll do a deal with will have it as dialed in as you.
Right. Well, at this point, sorry, I lost my train of thought again. Somebody keeps texting me and I can see it. So they're disrupting me. So anyways, what I tell most agents is the most patient one wins. Because yes, a lot of the times these properties have a longer close date because, we'll go on the market as soon as the foreclosure is completed, but we don't necessarily have the deed filed yet. So I have one right now that I've been under contract with for a year and the deed hasn't been filed yet. There's a title issue with the inheritance tax and whatnot. So, they do have to hang around a lot longer. They also have to do the seller required stuff. In Pittsburgh, we have something called a dye test. And everybody always says, what's a dye test? A dye test is when we run dye down the downspouts of the house and make sure that those are not running into our sewer system. If they're running into our sewer system, then we have to fix that because we're not allowed to do that. And they've made this a point of sale issue. So if you do that and you fail, well, then you have to go through all the repairs of that. But the buyer's agents have to do those on these foreclosures, whereas on a regular deal, the seller would do that. So, the seller always counters these buyers with, you are responsible for all the township requirements. And there's several. I mean, I don't know how you guys are experiencing it, but around here, we have to have an occupancy inspection. We have to do the dye test. Some of them even want to do a sewer camera inspection. And typically on a regular deal, a seller would do that and make sure it's working. The buyer's agents have to deal with this, and then they have to sign an agreement with the township and say, we will do this repair after closing if it doesn't pass. So it can be a lot more work for the buyer's agent. Like you said, it seems like I'd have it easier, but don't think I do. I'm on this end doing all the paperwork and reports and everything that needs to be done in order to get it to marketing in the first place. So I'm doing things like BPOs on every single property and then some. I sometimes value properties before they even go through sheriff's sale. So, there's work on both ends. Trust me, it is a lot more work than a regular deal on both sides.
It's interesting because I almost feel like you have doubled the work because not only do you have to do your side, but you also have to educate the agent on the other side and almost do half of their share of the work. It's like, because if you're not doing this, you're not cranking this out, and you don't have it systemized the way you have it, Libby. Right. It seems like there are going to be few different hiccups. I mean, out of curiosity, I'm going to go to all of my agents and I'm going to say, when is the last time you've done a foreclosure? Because I personally have never done one, and now it's funny that you are on our podcast because I just had somebody ask me about one. Literally probably 30 minutes before we started shooting this. And I was like, wow, I don't know. Let me find out for you. I'll
probably know. I
wish you were down here in Florida. You could just help me out.
Actually, Florida and Pennsylvania have very similar licensing laws. So a lot of agents from here are licensed in Florida too.
It's funny because I'm from Philly, right? Philly, Pittsburgh, we're about 4 hours almost. Yep. Neighbors over there. So when it comes to that, I kind of thought that there was a lot of similarities because I do have some of my friends that are up north that are still, obviously out practicing. But to go back into the foreclosure, so your clients are not the actual sellers. Your client is the bank that has foreclosed on the property. Is that right?
And outsourcers. They're called outsourcers. There are some direct clients which would be like PNC Bank. They have their own REO department. So when I have a PNC Bank listing, I work directly with the client. But there's another client, Hudson Homes. They are an outsourcer for the bank that owns the property. So there's two different types of clients depending on who I'm working with.
Now, somebody who's starting and is like, you know what, that kind of sounds cool. I want to get into foreclosures and be the next Libby of whatever state they live in. How did you break into and make those connections other than just having the advantage of being an assistant for somebody who was there? Because you said everybody started getting to know you and calling you, but what did you do for everybody to get to know you and to actually start calling you?
Well, when I started working with the one client that I had picked up when, he went out of, when he closed his doors, basically I was just working with them. It was just one client, Chase Home Finance. It was an outsourcer for Chase Home Finance. But like I said, as I guess asset managers talk to asset managers. And so they would tell somebody about me. And then the next thing I know, they'd send me a listing. So, and then I did have, I had a problem at one point. This is when I really, really put myself out there. I had just put a property under contract. I had the buyers and I had the listing. And they had given me the hand money. And then I had, or earnest money. I know they call it different things in different places. And then my Aunt Michelle, who was very young, passed away. She was in her 40s. And so I up and ran home. I'm from Erie. So I ran home to be with my family. And when I came back, the buyers had decided they didn't want the house and they'd put stop payment on that check. Now, we all know you have to get that hand money deposited as soon as you get it in hand. That was my fault. That was completely, utterly, and totally my fault. And so I paid that hand money. So, to fix all that. And I started putting my name out there because that's when that client said, Libby can't have any more listings. He was very angry with me because I made a big mistake. Well, I started applying to some of the banks. And this was back when you could do that. So nobody wanted to sell foreclosures. Nobody wanted, I remember at one point I had, someone had walked in the office and I'd handled his listing for him. And all the agents said, oh my God, Libby has a real listing. So it wasn't a compliment. It was not a compliment. So, back then there were the websites where you could apply to be an REO agent. And so anyways, that's what I started doing because I was really concerned about my career at that point because I had screwed up so badly. So luckily, when they did their numbers, they realized that they were doing better when I was listing for them. So they did let me come back involved, but I never made that same mistake again, obviously. But then I also had spread the word and applied to some of the other banks, and they started sending me properties too.
Got it. So would that be the same process even in today's market for somebody to try to break in?
Kind of. I don't know that many are accepting agents anymore because the volume isn't there like it was. Like that was probably about 2008 and that was when we had the big swamp of foreclosures. So they were open to taking more agents in, and it helped me. I don't know that there's many banks that are open and looking for agents now. Most of them are well covered. So, those of us that have been doing this for 15, 20 years. So, and we don't want to give up our clients, I can't wait until things pick up again. So I don't know that it's that easy for them anymore.
Interesting. So it's almost like one of those niches that once you're in it, you made a name, it's very hard to break into. And with some of the other obstacles and challenges they have shared with us, it seems like you may not want to essentially try to come in and dive into it. Would that be correct?
Oh yeah. Let me tell you something about this end of the business that I think will deter many people. You have to have at least $50,000 to start off with this because you have to pay the bank's bills. So let's say we have a property. So I'm going to give you start to finish how this would all get to marketing. So I get an assignment, and it could be on any website, but we'll go with Equator. So equator.com, Agents can check that out, see if there's any openings for agents on there. It's an outsourcer management site. So I get the property assignment. They send me an email. Will you accept this listing? I go in and complete the task, accept. Thank you. So then I have to find out if the property's occupied or vacant. So now I find out it's vacant. So then I have to get it rekeyed. So I have to have somebody break into the house and put a new lock and new doorknob and a new lockbox on there. And then I have to get pictures and document everything about that property that's wrong with it or right with it. Most of the time it's wrong with it. So then from there, I do my values. I have to, give them three actives and 3 solds, and then make adjustments for whatever's wrong, whatever needs repaired, so on and so forth. And then from there, I will have to get the utilities up and running, which sometimes can be very expensive, especially if the electric has been off for over a year. I have to get the property trashed out. That can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000, depending on how much stuff is there. We get bids and have them send the bids, and then the bank picks which one they want. But I'm responsible to pay the people to do that. I'm responsible to pay for any repairs to get the electric on, the gas on, the water on. If we're turning the water on, I like to leave water off at my properties because we're a snowy state, and it's not always the best idea to have water on at a vacant property. But from there, I would pay the bills, like whatever came in, gas, water, sewer, electric, whatever, lienable. Got to make sure there's no liens on that property. And most of the time there is. So I have to get everything paid off. Then I have to send it back through a system. There's another system that they have for reimbursements, and ask them to pay me back. Most of the time they do. I've had them.
That was going to be my question. I'm like, all right, you're dishing out. I'm hoping this isn't coming out of your commission, that you're getting somehow reimbursed on this, or, get it on top, because you said $50,000. Some of the agents that are probably listening to this are like, holy shit. This isn't
with my volume, maybe if they, obviously, if you're doing a lesser volume, you won't need as much, but you have to have, I would say, to carry one REO listing appropriately, you'd have to have $10,000. I would say, I've got the system down now. So I don't know how much it costs, but I know it's expensive. I know it's very expensive. So
commission wise, is it the same like a regular listing as well? More or less?
No, it's less. 2.5 typically, or 2. I have one that's 1.5. I've taken one. So,
so for you, the strategy is more volume than it is to, because that's the only way. One client to me could be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Whereas, it's not like a listing where you get one house and then you hope they refer you out. I mean, if I screw up with one client, I can lose a lot of money. So I do my best not to screw up.
Oh, and by the way, would you consider yourself a maverick? Are you an agent, team leader, broker owner who's constantly striving, pushing boundaries and smashing goals? Well, we've already helped over 100 agents cross $100,000 and up in GCI per year. So if you're interested in learning more about our courses and coaching to help you scale your business, then head over to go.eliteagentsecrets.com.